up? It's your boy T-Bird here on The Reaction. Today is Wrestling Wednesday. So, now, today, if you probably watching it right now, whatever, AEW celebrated a 5-year anniversary since being on air as well, too. So, yeah, congratulations AEW for hitting the 5-year mark, though. I mean, despite the rough times they've been through, it's still a blessing that they made it this far. So, anyway, in honor of that, I thought it was a cool idea there to react to a video from a called 10 AEW wrestlers you did not know compete in WWE. So a lot of, a good amount of folks that, of course you got the well-known guys like, that went to AEW, that went for WWE, like most recently Ricochet, Dean Ambrose, John Moxley, Mercedes Moné, formerly known as Sasha Banks, Chris Jericho, Samoa Joe, Alice Malachi Black, and many others. But we want to see those you may not know compete in WWE that's well known in AEW right now, as well as Roy Strickland. So without further ado, let's check out Coleholic's 10 AEW wrestlers you did not know wrestle in WWE, compete in WWE. Let's get it. Okay. Give me a minute while the full screen is loading up.
All Elite Wrestling has been a godsend, not just for fans desperately seeking an alternative, but for wrestlers looking to make a decent living in the industry. Some of those currently signed to AEW know how hard it is to crack the WWE nut, with several having had matches there that typically led to nothing. Okay. And while there are famous examples of AEW stars wrestling one-offs for WWE in the past, yes, we all know that Matt Jackson was chokeslammed through a table by the Big Show. Settle down. There are others plying their trade for Tony Khan's promotion who wrestled for WWE that may have slipped under your smarky radar. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 AEW wrestlers you didn't know competed for WWE. Join us. Number 10, John Silver. John Silver, or to give him his full pirate name, Long John Silver, signed with All Elite Wrestling in December of 2019 alongside tag team partner Alex Reynolds. The Dark Order member has been a mainstay since and plays his part as a solid worker who wrestles primarily in tag and multi-man matches. Just a few months before he became All Elite, however, Silver wrestled for WWE, teaming with Alex Keaton to put over heavy machinery on the September 10th, 2019 episode of SmackDown. That said, this was not the first time Silver had...
This is why I kind of say, like, you may never know whether they're a jobber, a random jobber, or even a security who might end up being a superstar, a WWE star or superstar down the line, or you know, WWE, AEW, or even TNA. You may never know.
Had appeared on WWE TV. The first time he got called in for enhancement duty was back in 2012, where he was an early victim for Ryback during then-former Skip Sheffield's initial monster push. Silver, as Rob Grimes, teamed with Dan Delaney to lose a quick handicap match to the big guy at that year's No Way Out pay-per-view. Evidently impressed with his ability to make a big, bald monster look good, WWE again chose Silver to get squashed by Lars Sullivan on an episode of NXT almost 6 years later. Number 9, Queen Aminata. AEW clearly aren't hurting when it comes to their women's division, which is positively stacked right now.
I might remember.
The likes of Toni Storm, Mariah May, Britt Baker, and Mercedes Moné may get the big pay-per-view matches, but wrestling fans would be unwise to sleep on Queen Aminata.
Don't sleep on her, she's
Officially confirmed as All Elite in February of 2024, Aminata has been competing on AEW and Ring of Honor television since April 2021, gaining experience on Dark and Dark Elevation before getting a chance to show her stuff on Rampage, Collision, and Dynamite. Her breakout performance came in a loss to Ring of Honor Women's Champion Athena at Death Before Dishonor 2024. She'd had to pay her dues to get to that point, dues that included doing enhancement work for WWE. Aminata teamed with Jay Lee in a losing effort against the Kabuki Warriors on the April 30th, 2019 episode of Friday Night SmackDown. The local competitors were trounced by Asuka and Kairi Sane in just a couple of minutes, which is par for the course, isn't it? Aminata has come a long way since then and has all the tools to go even further. Number 8, Will Hobbs. With his size, athleticism, look,
and crazy by, we was wondering, we was saying it'd be nice if they bring him on to WWE, but never know he did it before.
General presence, Powerhouse Hobbs has all the ingredients to make it far in the pro wrestling business. And given all those qualities, you would assume WWE would be interested in him at some point in the future. Well, now that he's established himself as a star in the making anyway, because WWE passed on Hobbs after he had a tryout some years ago. Hobbs had mainly wrestled for the California-based AEW, the promotion that had trained him, when he bagged a 3-day WWE tryout, which included a dark match in October of 2016. He put over Baron Corbin prior to a SmackDown taping, yet evidently didn't do enough to impress WWE officials, even though he says he received good feedback from people afterwards. Though he was brought in for extra work a handful of times after, no contract offer was forthcoming, and so he moved on while trying to gain extra experience elsewhere. It was only after AEW showed interest in him that WWE suddenly became interested too, with Hobbs basically telling them just where they could stick it. Up their asses, in case that wasn't clear. Number 7, Serpentico. The masked Serpentico is a great example of somebody who turned what could have been a fleeting opportunity into something long-term and substantial. Brought in to do enhancement work in March of 2020, the Snake Man got over and became a mainstay on AEW Dark, his Chaos Project team with Luther being one of the YouTube show's highlights. He's continued to be a soldier for Tony Khan and is often booked for Ring of Honor, while also doing plenty of Dark matches at AEW tapings. In another universe, the 16-year veteran and Team 3D Academy graduate might have had a similar utility role in WWE, considering the connections of his Hall of Fame trainers. As it is, Serpentico, as Jonathan Cruz, has only wrestled 2 matches for WWE's NXT brand. The first was a quick loss to the Authors of Pain in September of 2016, and the second was a loss to Elias Sampson in January of 2017. Cruz wasn't signed on the back of these appearances, nor did he get picked up after a December 2018 tryouts, but the Puerto Rico native has found his niche for the competition. Number 6, Preston Vance. As the masked enforcer of the Dark Order, Preston Vance, aka 10, was a regular presence on AEW television starting in 2020. Since leaving the Order, taking off his mask and going by his new name, Vance hasn't had quite as many chances to show his stuff due to diminished TV time. However, he has looked impressive when spotlighted and possesses one of the best damn spine busters in the biz. He certainly didn't get a lot of TV time when he showed up on an episode of WWE NXT in 2018 either. As Cody Vincent, Vance teamed up with George Hickson to take on the War Raiders, now known as the Viking Raiders, in a match taped to air on the May 30th edition of the show. Given that the Raiders were running through the NXT tag division at the time and Vance and Hickson didn't get so much as a graphic displaying their names, it doesn't take a wrestling genius to figure out how this one went. As expected, Preston got in 0 offense and was thrown about from pillar to post before being pinned in short order. Number 5, Prince Nana.
I heard about this recently.
Finally provided the tremendous Prince Nana with a global stage on which to display his talents. And those talents, mainly the charismatic promos and of course that infectious dance, have greatly benefited Swerve Strickland, with Nana helping take the former AEW champ to the next level. Before AEW, Prince Nana was best known for his time in Ring of Honor, where he managed the Embassy. It was his work with ROH that brought him to the attention of WWE, who offered him a tryout in 2013. However, you may not know that prior to trying out as a manager, Prince Nana had actually wrestled for WWE. In the early 2000s, Nana was trying to make it as a wrestler, not a manager, and secured a couple of enhancement gigs, first putting over Steve Blackman on an episode of Jacked in July of 2001, before being brought back to stare at the ceiling for Crash Holly in January of 2002. They were routine matches, apart from the fact that the loss to Crash took place inside Madison Square Garden at a taping that also had bouts featuring Nana's future Ring of Honor cohorts Loki and Xavier. Number 4, Brian Cage. The ship may have sailed on Brian Cage potentially going to WWE. Man signing a new 5-year deal with All Elite Wrestling in April of 2024. By Cage's own admission, he did at least consider the possibility of going to WWE, with him and his agent going back and forth between the two companies before he committed to Tony Khan's promotion. Cage had been in the WWE system before Mind, long before he made his reputation on the indie circuit. According to Cage, a friendship with Chris Kanyon led him to getting extra work, which resulted in him receiving a tryout match prior to the June 7th, 2008 ECW TV taping. Taking up with another hope for Moore and Jimmy Wang Yang, the match wasn't exactly near smooth sailing as Cage suffered
I
a
knew he
concussion
slipper.
while taking Yang's top rope crossbody. Despite that, and
knew he
later
was slipper back
interrupting
then, but
John
still,
Laurinaitis
he looked totally
backstage,
different.
Cage evidently did enough to impress officials and was offered a
FCW.
developmental contract. However, he never made it out of FCW, and this dark match remains his one and only official WWE bout. Number 3, Aaron Solo. Former Factory member Aaron Solo has been with AEW since 2020, securing himself a spot as a dependable talent that is primarily used to put others over. It's a role he knows well, to be fair, having been utilized by WWE in similar fashion various times in the past. Solo had been on WWE's radar going all the way back to 2014, when he was called in to put over the team of Jason Jordan and Ty Dillinger and then the Ascension at NXT tapings in May and June of that year. A year later, the Black and Gold beckoned once more, with Solo doing the favors for Tyler Breeze and then appearing on the losing side of an 8-man tag match. Solo continued to get a look, no doubt in small part thanks to his relationship with then-fiancé Bayley, coming back in January of 2017 for an NXT dark match loss to Wolfgang and a brief bout with Akira Tozawa on 205 Live. Solo would have to wait a year for another enhancement gig, teaming with a certain Ricky Starks to put over the Revival on Raw, with his last WWE appearance to date being against Leo Rush on
Speaking of Rick Starr, I wonder if we're going to see him in WWE or NXT soon. It's been talks. It would be crazy.
205 Live that December. Number 2, The Blade. Though the Butcher and the Blade come across as a pair of grizzled veterans, it should be noted that the former, despite being in his mid to late 40s,
The Blade I can see because he used to be on TNA, so I can see him being it. I was thinking of Bushy. Busher, I was thinking about Bushy, but Bushy was been doing musical before that.
Actually less than a decade into his sports entertainment journey. Yet while he may be 2 years younger, the Blade is vastly more experienced. Experience that includes several matches for WWE. As Pepper Parks, the Blade worked for the Heartland Wrestling Association between 2000 and 2006, including during the time HWA was being used as a
Hold up, they had Shark Boy in HWA? What?
Developmental territory for WWE, allowing him to rub shoulders with some of the prospects the company sent to OVW for seasoning. His only matches in a WWE ring, however, were a series of squash match losses beginning in August of 2007, when, using his real name, he met the Boogeyman on ECW. 2 years later, ECW job duty would come calling once more as he got steamrolled by Vladimir Kozlov in May of 2009, and then by Kozlov and Ezekiel Jackson in a tag match 4 months later, for which he was billed as Jim Parks. His last WWE outing came in May of 2010 when he, as Jesse Guyver, was beaten by Shad Gaspard on SmackDown in what turned out to be Shad's final televised WWE match. Number 1, Nigel McGuinness. In September of 2009, Nigel McGuinness agreed a deal in principle to sign with WWE. However, a month later, the offer was rescinded when an old biceps injury that required surgery resulted in him failing a physical. It was a bitter blow for the former Ring of Honor champion, whose main goal in the business was to make it to WWE. Luckily for Nigel, he did at least get one opportunity to ply his trade in a McMahon-owned ring. After doing some work for WWE Developmental Territory Ohio Valley Wrestling, McGuinness was given something of a tryout against Danny Basham on an episode of Heat that aired on September 11th, 2005. The reigning ROH Pure Champion at the time, Big Nige was not given an entrance and lost what was essentially a glorified squash match. He wasn't signed afterwards and would in fact have to wait more than a decade before inking a WWE contract, and not as a wrestler but as a commentator for NXT and NXT UK. These days, McGuinness is calling the action for AEW and got some sort of closure on his in-ring career with his emotional return to the squared circle at All In 2024.
Yep. There you have it, though. Yeah. Good amount, like, very few I knew about, like, Aaron Solo, the non I knew most recently, Nigel, of course, and who else? Who else they said? Yeah, literally them four as well, leaving them guys as well, too. But the rest, it was definitely a shock as well, too, though. Who was the last one? The last one, the rest was definitely a good shock as well too, though. Yeah, I mean, you may never know whether it's appearance of WWE or even having a little squash match. You know, a lot of people say that. You know, I mean, the WWE is not the end all be all, but sometimes it can give you that push and get you noticed, somehow, somewhere, and get you a following. Other than that, though, if you like my reaction, like, share, subscribe my YouTube channel. It's your boy T-Bear signing off. I was going to do one more, but I'm going to hold off on it to another time, though. And this will be this one right here. So I'm going to wait till probably later. You're probably going to get it later on today, or probably tomorrow. But other than that, it's your boy T-Bear signing off. One love.